Hey there, and welcome back to the userexperience.org podcast, where I interview people about their thoughts and work in the field of user experience. For this episode, I chatted with Cas Cain, and this is the second part. So if you haven't listened to the first part, stop everything you're doing right now and listen to the first part first, and then come back and thank me later. Anyways, in this part, we talked about navigating team dynamics, agile versus waterfall methodologies, defending the value of UX, and the role of AI in user experience design. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay. Hi, Cas.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Hope you had a good break.
It was very insightful.
That's nice. Just for some quick context again. So this is the userexperience.org podcast where I interview, people working in UX for insights and advice. And Cas, we met, I think, 3 weeks ago, and she has at least 10 years of experience in fintech and a bunch of other experience in UX. And she does a whole lot on the side as well. And before we started recording, we had a list of stuff that we'd like to talk about. Obviously, we don't have to do it all. In part one, we talked about mentoring, which she is. She's a mentor. So she gave advice on how to make a resume, her 7 golden rules, also her formula for the summary.
Yep.
We touched a little bit about interviews, but not really. But I think for now, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to talk about what you mentioned before, like UX trade-offs and
Yes.
how to, what is UX? How do you define that? How do you work within a team? How do you collaborate? How do you defend yourself as a UX, person? And then also maybe a little bit about the process, how does agile versus lean agile versus waterfall play into all of this? So I'd like to take it off from there. I can give you some context as well, just so you can shape this a little bit. So I'm currently doing exchange at UMass Boston. Before that, I worked for a year as a UX, I don't know if designer is the right word, as a business analyst and doing UX as well for KLM, which is an airline. So I have a little bit of experience in UX and in working, which is different than the people I'm studying with right now. So
They have no experience.
They have no experience. So
And any outside of UX or just?
So, okay. So I'm doing a course right now. It's called software development.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm in a team of 3 other people.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I won't reveal their names, but one of them is doing a PhD in AI. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
super
Great.
impressive.
Right.
But she has no work experience.
Okay.
The other one is working towards getting a PhD in AI. So also super smart and he's doing a master's in AI. But he's 21 or 22.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's impressive.
So it's impressive, but he's really young. And then
Right.
there's another one, and she has, I think, 2 years of work experience as a front-end developer.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, not much really. So for them, Agile and Scrum and all that is super new, and they're all technical. So
Right.
they don't know what UX is necessarily. They might know what it stands for, but so the issue I'm running up against, which I'd like to chat with you about, is the
Sure.
fact that let me see if I can give you a concrete example. So we're building a system for real estate agents and investors
Okay.
so that they can determine what the potential rental income is of a property.
Okay.
So for example, you have a dashboard, let's visualize that, and you can set how many bedrooms your apartment has, where it's located, how many square feet it has, and then the AI system will give you a prediction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it agentic or not?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just
So
it's just gonna
it's a model.
pull in that. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
And we had a sprint review, or I guess it was more of a demo.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, what's interesting is that the stakeholder is the teacher himself. He's
Interesting.
not necessarily a real
Okay.
estate agent. So we're role playing here.
Right.
But yeah, so I showed him that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, cool. But it'd be really cool if you could add a search feature where you could search for your property instead of
Right.
having to input all of that, and it would pull the data with APIs
Right.
and then show you a map with comparable and similar property.
Cool.
I'm yeah, I mean, that sounds good. I understand that, why you would want that and stuff. And what was interesting was the 2 developers or technical people weren't in that meeting due to miscellaneous reasons. So then I expressed that to them, this idea, and they're well, we don't know how to do that, and we have a lot on our plate already, and we want to build the AI model, and we want to do this and that, and
Right.
if do you know how to do it? If you talking to me, if you know
Yeah.
how to do it, and if you're promising to build that, go for it. I'm whoa, let's take a step back here. First of all, I'm just like here to like understand what the requirements are and like what they would want ideally, like,
Right.
and like what the value is, and then let's talk about that as a team of like how can we get there. And they
Right.
were just completely like pushing it away and like trying to
So
defend
you completely shut it
themselves.
down. Okay,
Yeah,
got
they
it.
shut it down. Like they're
Right.
like they don't want to work on that.
Mm.
They want to like because they also are. I guess I'm just philosophizing, but they want to get a PhD in AI. So they
Mm.
just want to ideally like sit in their room or whatever and like work on an AI model. That's my perspective. You know what I'm saying? Whereas
Right.
I'm like, well, okay, cool, but let's try to build something that has value, and like
Right.
a simple search feature might not be very exciting. I could like for you for your like, but
Mhm.
like it'll add value and like we're trying to, you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
And like,
Yeah.
and they were saying, oh, we don't know how to build that. First of all, I can build that like
Right.
with ChatGPT or Manus. Like
Right.
like I'm pretty sure I can do that.
Okay.
And if not, like we'll figure it out.
Right.
But like I'm sure they can do it too. And if they can't, they can learn it. So they were just like, I think they were using that as an excuse to like push away and just
Mm.
want to build what they want to build. So they're in love with the technical aspects, whereas
The technical
you know
aspects
what I'm
of
saying?
creating the data for the model.
Yeah, or just
Okay.
creating the model.
Got
Whereas
it.
I'm in love with like creating
The
value and their
experience.
experience and the people.
Right.
So my question to you is like,
Yes.
how would you approach this situation? I'm putting you on the spot, so
Yeah.
like understandably, if like, but yeah,
Yeah. So, like, okay, if I was in this situation, and so first of all, working with groups is always challenging,
mhm,
right? And this could be like on a team too, whether it's like on a UX team and dev. And I think at the end of the day, everyone kind of has in their own mind what they want to get out of the experience or the product.
mhm,
And that may not vibe or jive with everybody, right? So I think the first thing you can do to try to mitigate that type of friction is to make sure that everyone is having having a discussion even potentially before you start working on the product of what like the minimum viable product should be. What are we actually like, what is the core functionality of this and what it is going to do? um so there's something in UX called Moscow. It's a framework, and essentially it's almost like a 2 by 2 grid, and you essentially like divide what is high priority and high resource versus low priority and low resource.
mhm,
And that's where you would have things that are must have, should have, could have, and won't have.
mhm,
So having that type of brainstorming session up front can prevent something called scope creep, where
yeah,
things end up getting added on, adding on, and adding on. Now, in terms of your specific thing, I think it's fair for the people that are going for their PhD to want to their goal is probably to just be able to train and build a well-crafted model where you're looking at an experience. So this is a trade-off, right? Where you have resources that are dedicated to kind of the back end of this product, but you also want to have a good looking, hopefully,
yeah.
and functioning application.
Yeah. So
And
if I may
yeah.
interject, I just realized like while we're talking about this that like we haven't really talked about what are our goals and takeaways. Like what do we want to
Oh,
get
so
from
yeah.
this? Like I tried at the beginning, I
Mm,
was like, okay, let's talk about who
let's
we
sync.
are
Yeah.
and like what are we trying to get out of this? And they're like, yeah, we want to get like an A plus. I'm like, all right, um,
Right.
like I understand you want to go for like academic excellence, so do I. Well, first of all, like I have other projects, so I might not want to go there.
Right.
Now I'm just ranting.
No, it's fine.
But like yeah, it's also good like not just academically like the grade, but like what do we want to get out of this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I was going to say too. I think when it comes to courses, some people just want to finish or get
Mhm.
the A, as you said. I'm a pretty ambitious person. So
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So I am always trying to think about potentially what I could add to my portfolio, let's say.
Mhm.
Like not just getting the A, but like maybe going above and beyond to create like a well-crafted experience, which is what I think UX is,
Yeah.
right? It's crafting experiences for people,
Mhm.
right? Depending on what their need. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so we have a meeting on Tuesday
okay.
with a teacher, and I think we will like we've already talked about we're going to talk about like the MVPs, what do we really need? But I think it's also worth having a discussion like internally within the team about like,
Totally.
what do we want to get out of this? And like also even if it's like if we disagree,
Mm.
We at least we're aware like that. Okay, I'm aware now that they want to like work on the AI models and really prove that, and they're aware that I want to work on like the HCI and the
All right.
UX. If at least then we're like transparent about it and we can understand where we're coming from. Because right now I'm just like, bro, like, and they're like putting me down. Like you have no idea.
Right.
Like you're like a person's person, and I'm like, and they're like coding, and like they're like they think that I'm like overestimating what they're
Mm.
capable of. Like, but like I mean, I've coded like, and I've worked with developers before. It's a communication thing. It's
Oh,
not like
totally.
it's not supposed to be a war, you know, like where
Right.
they're like, you know, like trying to.
Yeah, I get it. That's beautifully said. And yeah, I think that it should be fair and transparent for you guys to have a meeting,
Mhm.
have communication, and just be like, look, let's see if there's a way that we can meet your goal of getting the A plus
Yeah,
with my potential goal of having a well designed and well shipped product at the end of the day.
yeah,
That's something that you could show off and be proud of.
yeah.
And that
Um,
and honestly that will help them too.
yeah, I
Like
will.
so maybe, it's a kind of a side where you're learning from each other, right?
Uh,
Where you're learning
yeah,
more of the technical stuff
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
learning more of the, for lack of a better
yeah,
word, people skills,
yeah.
right?
I just had like a throwback where one of the guys was like, "What? We don't even need a user interface, you know, like,
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah, they can just like type it in like in the command line or whatever." Like, bro.
Yeah, now
And then he
everything's
even
command
said,
line.
or he said like, "Oh, well, let's just do the user interface at the end,"
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, like waterfall. So like that's kind of where I want to go with this as
Mm,
well. Is like, can you talk a little bit about like agile, like versus lean agile versus waterfall?
yes.
And in like, I'll give you again this context, like. Yeah, basically he was saying like we should just build the model and then do this and then do the user
Mm,
interface. And then I'm like, no, let's also like understand what the requirements are and the needs. He's like, no, but like what's the point of making user interface if the underlying model doesn't work like that? But I'm like, well, that's like it's like a oh, it's like by making that user interface we can gather feedback and
right.
understand what do they need and how do they want it, and then based on that we can adjust the model.
Mhm.
Whereas he's really thinking about like, like one, two, three, four.
Right. 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 Yeah. And that's a great way to kind of just so to describe very quickly like agile versus waterfall. So
Mm-hmm.
agile is essentially making small iterative iterative improvements over time. So you're building, then you're testing, and then you're shipping,
Mm-hmm.
right? In this case, it would be like tweaking the model a little bit, maybe adding some of the UI, see how that works, going back,
Mm-hmm.
versus doing waterfall, whereas like you finish in this case the model first, like to the best it can be, and then you move into the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on like the project and the industry, there's definitely use cases for both of them. I would say most things now are agile. But if you're in industries like healthcare or working in government where you need to get approval, like legal approval and compliance or HIPAA requirements or whatever it is that has like a hard stop
Mm-hmm.
that's preventing you from moving to the next thing, that to me is a very applicable use case for waterfall.
Mm-hmm.
So it really just depends, but to your situation, should be agile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agile and lean agile. So lean is a derivative of agile. And because the SDLC product lifecycle can be a lot at times. There's a lot of testing, a lot of product management. And if you're really doing Scrum, that's actually like creating tickets and moving those into the backlog, running a sprint,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it can be very I don't know what the word is, but just a lot, I guess you could
Yeah.
say.
I mean, we did it at KLM, and the product owner was amazing.
Oh,
Like
great.
he got it working.
That yeah,
That was the dream.
totally. I mean,
Yeah.
having a great product manager is like what can really make or break a project.
Yeah.
So rockstar, right?
Yeah. And,
But
and
oh god,
so you're like, so you have experience in project management. So
yes,
like, again, for context, so we can keep it like
yeah,
concrete. I've kind of become the
product
product
manager.
manager. So like I created the Notion workspace, I created the Git repo, and I'm just like naturally like I see problems, I try to pick it up, like get people working on stuff. But yeah, it's something I'm like running up against. Like being a project manager is really stressful.
Yes, it
Like
can be.
and like I have to like go to the gym and like really turn off my phone because like all the group members, like I'm in contact with every single team member, and like they're talking to me like a lot, like, and I'm like talking with them a lot, and like one of them came up was like, hey, like I don't know what my role is within this team, and I'm uncomfortable sharing that with the others. So like she
Ah,
confided in me, and then
right.
I had to like politically like, and then like she talked to the teacher and like, okay, let's like talk with the group, and then
Mm.
but like we don't want to send it via text, so let's have a group meeting. But then they weren't available, so it was like 3-4 days. We had the
Right.
group meeting. They're like, what the hell? Like, why did you not tell us earlier? I'm like, well, I'm like, we're like navigating like
Right.
all these political things as well.
Right.
Um,
It's a lot of juggling.
yeah,
You can take on the role of a therapist at times
yeah, for sure.
indirectly.
And like,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, what I'm doing right now is talking to them one on one, and we understand each other really well one on one. But when it's a group, like frictions start happening within team
Mm.
members.
Yeah, that's tough.
Um,
Have you
yeah.
ever thought about doing a racy chart?
A what?
A racy chart, RACI.
I mean, you're so
So
first
it's
you had dip was the first word.
fib,
Sid.
fib. Well, that's not a tech acronym. That just means
No.
lying. I think it's actually English.
Okay.
Fibbing.
Let's
No.
see. Okay.
So RACI, RACI, like all caps, and it just basically stands for defining the roles.
I think I've heard of this. Roles.
Yes, the roles of
Yeah,
what you.
yeah.
Yeah, you
So we
guys are
got like
gonna.
roles, actions. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, it's like I forgot what each acronym stands for. I know the last one is like inclusive.
Mhm.
Um, but basically
Or
you're
responsible.
yeah, responsible, actionable, something and then informed. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because one of the
Absolutely.
issues that we had is that at the beginning we didn't know how to divide tasks, and
Yes.
we had like, oh, let's all work on the same task at the same time and compare notes, and it's like that's
Right.
really inefficient.
Yes.
And then now we've split the technical aspects from the UX aspects or the
Mhm.
UI.
Mhm.
But then that's where we're like two teams within a team fighting up against each other.
Yeah, I think you guys should do the racy chart exercise where everyone does it maybe individually.
Hmm.
They think they put like have your own printout. Everyone has their own printout of
Hmm.
where whose responsibility what is. So first of all, like divide all the responsibility and then see what people fill out on who is
Yeah.
responsible
So
and
that sounds fun, but like I don't want to push too much on them in terms of like,
the project management
well,
stuff,
no, like the I don't know what the word is, but
social dynamics.
like the therapist kind of vibes, like the therapist
Oh.
homework vibes, where it's like, oh, everyone has to like I so like I but the racy sounds really interesting. So I'm thinking of a way, how can I do that where it's more natural and like just in a
Yeah, I think there's
conversation.
a great way to frame
Yeah.
it. I think when you guys get together, just say, hey, there's this project, just frame it, say that, hey, there's this project management exercise. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think it'll help give us clarity moving forward.
That's good.
And just like, let's just spend 5 minutes filling it out
Yeah.
and let's just see. And then let's come to like a decision or a conclusion
Hmm.
on who should be doing what. And and it's just clear moving forward. Does that help?
That does, yeah.
Okay,
It
good. I
does,
think
yeah.
I can see you may have anxiety around it. I can see from your face.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do. Like
Yeah.
like this is the first thing I think of when I wake up and the last thing I think of when I fall asleep.
Sounds stressful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, talking to people helps a lot. Like
Mm.
just getting it off my chest, like what I told you about the story night, and I just told that to people, and then like I felt better.
Yeah, this is actually a great plug for a course I took recently. I took Coursera's course, which is Google's project management course.
Okay.
It's like $50 a month. It's a whole 8-course program, but it really walks you through
Hmm.
all of the essentials for project management. And I thought it was an excellent course. So this is some of the stuff I would totally
Yeah.
be doing in there.
And for people listening, you can use the code CAS50 to get 50% off.
Not yet.
Dude, honestly,
Maybe at some point.
all right. For now, we'll just use CAS50,
Yeah.
and you can use that code, and we'll see if we can get that
Right.
working.
But yeah, good luck with it.
Thank you. All right. Maybe one more thing. Like, so what I'm interested in hearing is also, how do you defend UX as a trade? Like, I'm sure nowadays it's getting more and more recognition, but like, how do you
Right.
defend the importance of that? Because I had, again, so I'll give you an example. With the search feature for that real estate thing, one of the people said, why don't you just like the users know how many bedrooms their house has. Why don't they just type that in? It's
Yeah.
like, like,
Assumptions.
yeah, exactly. Like,
total
and then like, another thing was like, who are the users? And she wasn't really clear. Like, we weren't clear on that yet.
Yeah, no
Like,
persona, right?
yeah, so like that's what I like want to work on as well, and like the importance of that.
Yeah, so So you wanted to know, just repeat your question
Yeah.
again, so I want to understand completely.
Oh, how do you defend UX?
How do I defend
Or how do you
UX?
define and how do you defend it?
Yeah, so I said before, it's UX is around crafting experiences
Mhm.
for the end user. But the end user could also be like the stakeholder. It could be, in my case, like at my job, our internal our excuse me, our internal tools are dev centric.
Mhm.
So our engineers are using the tools. So in my case, my tools and my UX experience is all around the engineers that are using it.
Mhm.
So it's a very specific use case. Um, how can you? So I guess that's like the way I always try to take a step back, right? And even before I start saying like I need to defend something, I always try to understand what people care about,
Mhm.
right? So I'm just going to use an example. Like engineers, they probably want to build something that has cool tech stack, maybe has some AI in it, and it isn't like too crazy custom code or overwhelming, right?
Mhm.
Stakeholders are going to care about maybe innovation, maybe revenue. So, what I always try to understand when I'm working with multiple teams is how to make sure that my work that I'm doing, my UX work, is in line with their end goals.
Mhm.
So some people, right, like think there's always this notion that still exists today is like UX or UI is just making things pretty. And that could not be any more wrong. I think you have to find a way, again, going back to soft skills, on how to be able to effectively communicate.
Mhm.
So if there is a product manager and he's not understanding the value of research. I don't understand why we're making these personas, blah, 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 blah. I would show actually like potentially UX metrics, right? Or A/B testing results
Mhm.
on this actually is improving based on this test that we ran, and these are the results of it.
Mhm.
So sometimes depending on the person that you're talking to, you have to figure out what they actually care about. And believe it or not, I think most of the time that's numbers. That's the quantified thing. If you can actually show in your designs that this is leading to 20% less friction,
Mhm.
that is a perfect and then justify that with an ROI, right? Like by 20% you're saving the company this much by making this UX, improvement, because so many people complained about it.
Mhm.
Like it's helping save the money and it's making them look better.
Mhm. Yeah.
People always want to look better, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Like that's
Yeah.
that's
So I think
that's
I
my
think in my
approach.
case, so in my case, the ROI is less applicable since
Right.
it's like a
Group
academic
project.
group project. But
Right.
the thing of making people look better, I mean, that's what they want too.
Right.
So like, and they want a good grade. So I feel like if I can like not convince them is maybe a weird word, but if I can show them, enlighten them,
Manipulate. I'm just
uh,
kidding.
if I can show them that like I know the search feature is not so cool, and you might think the teacher might not be impressed, but the teacher asks for it and he wants that. And like, yeah, if we can like satisfy that, then like he'll give us a better. I don't know. He'll give
Yeah,
us a
no,
better
no,
grade.
yeah, yeah. I think
But
I think that's good. I think maybe because they're so technical. I mean, I'm just kind of throwing my advice at you.
hmm
Um, Tell them that maybe all the work that they're doing around building the model,
yeah,
that it may not get used if people don't understand how to use it.
yeah,
Like, because that's what they are. They're caring about the data and the model, but what is the point of having the model and everything if it's not being
yeah.
actually used correctly? Like that, I think, is a way to frame it. So just to recap all this, I think it's you have to step back and kind of take yourself out of it. People can get very defensive when it comes to like their work being criticized.
Mhm.
Take a step back and you have to like kind of figure out what people care about and find a way to almost like negotiate or mitigate
And
that.
how do you figure out what they care about? Can I just ask them?
You could. You could totally ask them. I mean, I think that's a good way to put it. I think some people don't really know sometimes
Hmm.
even what they might care about. I mean, I think in your case they said that they want to have a good grade,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, maybe that's a little bit clear, but
Hmm.
maybe potentially in the company or a team it's
Yeah.
different.
But even within that, like, they want more than just a good grade, I think. Like, they want to work on something they like working on.
Right.
I think that's one of the reasons why they don't want to work on that search feature. Is because they're just like, pff, you know.
Yeah, like I would have, and maybe, have like a one-to-one with them and have like an open-ended conversation
Hmm.
and just be like, hey, I just wanted to check it, like touch base or check in. And like, I just want to know what do you want to get out of not even maybe the class, like the program? What do you want to do like with yourself and with your life and like really like listen to them. I think a
Hmm.
lot of, communication wise, people want to speak more than they want to actually listen to somebody.
Hmm.
And I think having curiosity around like what is making this person actually tick
Yeah.
is something that I've learned. And it just helps you be like a better mediator, communicator, something that you could take throughout your life too with all your relationships. So yeah, I'm kind of giving life advice now, but
I mean, valid
yeah, it's
advice.
totally, and this is
And
what I
also,
do for my students
yeah. And
too.
the nice thing with advice is take it or leave it. I feel like, so don't be afraid
Yeah.
of like giving it. I mean, like I'm obviously receptive to it
Mhm.
and I'm asking for it. So feel free to
Oh,
and I
sure.
can always be like,
Yeah, if it was you, if I was you, I would have an open-ended conversation
yeah,
and like what their life goals are. Like
yeah,
take it outside.
yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna hit the gym actually with one of them on
Oh, that'll be
Thursday.
fun.
So like, yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanna,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a
it'd
good
be
bonding
nice.
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like anyway.
Cool.
Um, okay, so I think I'm satisfied with that.
Okay, do
For
we
that
want to talk about
part.
AI too, or a
Yeah,
little bit?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, one of the things we wanted to talk about is AI in general, and also
Mm.
like the interfaces of AI and stuff. So,
Yes.
just again for context, I went to like at Northeastern. They're having a design research week,
Oh, really? Oh,
and
well, I didn't hear about this.
and one of the workshops that someone gave or talks
Mm.
was like about voice interfaces. So, like,
Oh,
how does a chatbot talk to you, and how does
yes.
that depend on who you are and stuff.
Mm.
So, I think there's multiple facets. Like, you have the visual interface.
Mm.
You have the text, like how does, like semantically, how does he, like what's the voice? For
Right.
example, Grok versus
Right.
Claude, and yeah, the audio part as well.
Right.
And maybe there's even other dimensions of that.
Yes.
But I'd like to dive in wherever you want to dive in,
Yeah, sure.
and you just hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, actually, when was it? Was it last week? Last week, I had the experience of taking the brand new Nielsen Norman Group (NNG) course around designing AI experiences. So, I have a lot of experience with AI, I guess, in regards to, so I'm AI certified with Azure. So I've taken the AI 900 course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also like cloud certified as well. So I had a really good chance of taking the test to dive into what encompasses AI, generative AI, the text to kind of voice experience, as well as like kind of the visuals of it as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think AI is super interesting because right now it reminds me of maybe where like blockchain was like 10 years ago and there was all this like hype around it, right? And everyone's talking about AI, but like it's still growing and evolving and I'm very like pro AI. Like I don't see AI as like a threat and there's definitely negative connotations, I think. I'm very much interested in the technology.
Mm-hmm.
And does everything like maybe should I not be so positive about it? Potentially, but I think I just like the idea of, it's something new, something everyone is still trying to define what is a good user experience for AI.
Yeah. So first of all,
Yeah.
I used to run an AI safety group, so I
Oh,
have very strong opinions about that. But I think I'll leave that for
yes.
another time.
Right.
I'm also super pro AI. It's like a weird like pro and like pro AI
Yeah, you see
safety.
both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do too,
I'm
by the
sure you
way.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, just talk to me about your experience when ChatGPT came out for the
Mm,
first time. What was that like for you? And
yeah.
have you personally like experienced the experience of AI? And then how does that form maybe like also in like with the context of the course you just did?
Yeah.
How does that inform like your perspective on how we should be designing AI experiences?
Yes. Okay. That's such a great question. A lot of things there. So first of all, I kind of started off maybe probably how everyone did using like ChatGPT, asking it like questions. I think my first question I ever asked is like, what are the qualities of a superhero?
No way.
Yeah.
I wish I remembered what my first question
Yeah, I
was.
was like actually like going back and looking at like
No
my
way.
mental model history. Yeah, I was like, what are the qualities of superhero? And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like it's like Google, but like better summarized. Yeah, and I've gotten pretty good at prompting, right? So now I can have it like create a chart for me and be able to add tables and add columns and like really get into like a really defined experience, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So um most of it now or what it originally started off as just like a chat kind of text interface with the GPT model.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's evolving to, and I'm sure you've seen, is now there's kind of a more thinking
Mm-hmm.
kind of I guess it's like an initiative around AI. So if you go into ChatGPT now, there's like a deep research
Yeah.
because there's still like a lot of hallucinations regarding AI and ChatGPT's model. I think it's like the 4.0 model now. But I think they're getting better at improving those hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not like fake sources that are citing things and it's just completely making something up.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess now jumping into kind of where it is in the industry. So now you're seeing a lot of agents. So what an agent is where the AI model has control over an environment, like Salesforce or something else, where it actually can access files for you and do more automated tasks, which I think is super cool. There's, for example, I think this is a good part of AI, but you know, it might be something around a negative around like replacing jobs, but doing like a lot of very tedious, repetitive tasks
Mm-hmm.
and that require a lot of attention to detail, I think is where AI shines.
Mm-hmm. Like
Like going through paperwork, for example, and highlighting things and bringing those things to the forefront, and then maybe even like logging them in Salesforce.
yeah. So something I've been thinking about as well. Like yesterday, I was trying to do my taxes.
Ah, okay.
Um, like I'm also and like I downloaded a bunch of like financial transactions, and I was trying to like get it to like do something with that, to
Okay.
like figure out. Yeah, I don't want to get into specifics,
Okay.
but
But you
like
wanted it to look at your forms.
yeah.
Okay. Something like that. Okay.
Well, anyway, but basically the issue was like, how can I trust it? Like trust but verify. You know the thing when I'm, you know, like that Russian quote or whatever, like trust but verify. So how can I use AI in such a way that it can do the hard work, but I can check like that it's correct? And I think what you mentioned now with the sources and deep research, back in the day, you know, it would just give you like in text like sources, and you were like, oh, I don't know if I believe this. But
Right.
now it actually has links and stuff, so you can like
Yes.
click on it.
But sometimes those
So
links are not accurate either.
right.
It's still
So like
hallucination.
exactly. So how do we like? I mean, I'm gonna put you on the spot, but maybe we
Yeah.
can just think out loud. Like, how can we design experiences with AI in such a way that it can do that like heavy grunt work and lifting for us,
Right.
but like we as people can still be there, like in control, and
Exactly.
like verify that what it's doing is what we want it to be doing.
Yeah, I think you just said it perfectly. I think of right now, like the current state of AI is like an intern.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're having it do work, like kind of tedious work, which is how I think it should be set up right now. But you're always overseeing it. You're having to fact check and verify. Maybe we, you know, hopefully in the future won't have to do that too much, where we can trust that the output that it's giving is actually like factionable.
Yeah.
Faction.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Fact and actionable.
Faction. I just made that up.
Actionable.
Oh, factionable.
Are you sure
Oh.
you didn't make FIP up either?
No. Oh my
You're
god,
fibbing?
you're hilarious. No, I'm not fibbing.
Okay.
Yeah, so but regarding trust is very interesting. You know, a lot of the data for AI has been trained on some questionable things like potentially private works. And I would always be careful and hesitant on especially uploading like very personal or like CID, like client identifiable information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's someone else's or yourselves
Right.
into a chat GPT model. So if there is a way for whatever it is that you're doing, try to find a way that it could do a task potentially without like having to reveal like your social security number,
Yeah.
right? I don't know. I'm like still hesitant on that. Like, and that's to me, an area where there definitely is some reluctance on my end.
I think my last question that I'd like to ask, and then I'm
Mm,
sure if you have anything else you'd like to talk about, we can do that
sure.
as well.
Yeah.
But I think my last question is also what you mentioned with like AI taking over jobs, maybe.
Mm,
I'm wondering what your what your perspective is on like that in general, and then more specifically on like UX as a field, and like
yes.
what impacts will it have? And
Sure.
yeah,
Okay, I'll try to maybe like one at a time.
yeah,
So the first question was in regards to AI and jobs,
yeah,
right? Yeah, as I said earlier, I think where AI shines the best is really in like automated type jobs. So even for example, like doing testing, like software, like quality testing after
yeah,
you release a new feature and before it goes like on prod, how can you have like something tested? Now we're having like the GitHub kind of copilot coming out, and I think that's really cool. I mean,
hmm,
I think I'm making kind of a general statement, but AI should be able to help you and your like job that you're currently doing. So
hmm,
if you're having to build new products as a software engineer and then you're having to test them, hopefully now you could spend some more time actually building products instead of having to test. It should
hmm,
like be an assistant. But I think as AI, especially agentic AI, continues to evolve, we're already kind of seeing companies doing layoffs and scaling back.
right,
Like even now with chat GPT or AI integration into GitHub, what used to take a developer or like a whole team of devs now can probably just be done with two.
yeah,
Um, so it's going to be really interesting to see. I'm hoping that as many kind of jobs potentially, because there are industries that are absolutely getting like hurt by this.
hmm,
That it would also though create new opportunities as well. So I think the best thing you could do is really get familiar with AI, train yourself on it, and see how AI can help you or improve your current skill set. Because I think it's a must skill at this point, especially if you work in tech.
yeah,
And so then just the final question, regarding UX and AI. It's so interesting. I think right now, AI, there's a lot of hype. Like everybody wants to use it. But the business use case of actually using AI you may not need it. I think
hmm,
people are trying to fit it in just to say, oh, look, I built this thing with AI. But like, should you even use AI? Like, is this something that just a regular data science model could solve and not potentially AI?
hmm,
Um, I think people should, especially designers, need to be aware of what the user is expecting, like the mental model as we call it. So I know you talked a little bit before about the actual interface of AI,
hmm,
like the text line and the voice. There's one other thing before that, and that's like the mental model.
hmm,
And that basically means the expectation of what the user is expecting the AI to do before they even start using it. And so I think that is something that UX designers really need to pay attention to. What is the user expecting this AI experience to be? Because I think it's all over the place right now. So making sure that it aligns with expectations, I think is crucial. Yeah.
yeah. All right.
Heavy stuff though.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, it's just going to change the world, but I think that's a good spot to end that
Yeah.
part on. So thanks for that. And then we'll also talk about like, your plugs and how you can get in
Oh,
touch with
sure.
her. But is there anything else before that that you'd like to? So I think yeah, we touched upon basically everything that we set out to do. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that think
No, I think we covered a lot. I'm pretty
okay,
happy with everything that we did today.
nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can find Cass. Where can you find Cass?
Yeah.
And what can you do and what can you collaborate with on? And...
Yeah, so I don't really have like too much of a social media. So I will say, so I have my LinkedIn. You can find me Cassandra Cain, that's with one S and then Cain.
Like
My
the Batman thing,
like yes, I totally changed my name to Batgirl. My website is CASCAIN, so cascain.io, or you can even do .com as well.
Oh, wow.
And then I have my Medium, which is like right off of it. I just started kind of writing on Medium, so some of these things I talked about today, like optimizing a resume, is totally on my Medium, as well as some other articles that I do for aspiring UX designers, new graduates, whatever. So yeah, that's where you can find me right now.
And any ways that you're looking for collabs, like collaboration or opportunities, or what are you looking for?
I would be open to that. I have a pretty busy schedule, so I'm commuting into New York 3 times a week. So I'm kind of like all over the place right now. Eventually going to be moving to Boston, so I'm like constantly in between, Connecticut, New York, and Boston. But yeah, I would totally be open to some type of collaboration. AI really has my heart right now. So really anything regarding AI, but even like design systems or clearly anything with mentoring, I'm very passionate about. Yeah.
Right. Sweet. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. And I also do consulting, by the way. So just putting that out there. If, people want to set up a meeting with me, and they can find all that information on my website.
Sweet. Cascain.io.
Yes, .io. Cool.
All right. Well, that wraps up part 2. We hope you enjoyed our chat. If you did, please leave a review and share the podcast with your friends, family, and network. If you'd like to connect with Cass, her email is cass@cascain.com, and her email is also listed in the description below. And you can check out our website at cascain.io. I'd also love to hear what you thought of this episode. You can reach out by sending an email to podcast@userexperience.org. And we also have a website with blog posts and other content related to UX. And we have a community of people helping each other out. So check out our website out at userexperience.org.
Bye.
Bye-bye.